the station working for you. This is WRTV News at 11, streaming now.
Our latest round of snow is moving on, but frigid temperatures are here to stay. Good evening to you at 11 o'clock. I'm Mark Mullins.
And I'm Amanda Starrentino. Let's get right to WRTV Chief Meteorologist Kevin Gregory.
And Mark and Amanda, the cold air is here to stay until even colder temperatures arrive by Valentine's Day. As you mentioned, light snow, that's diminishing right now across central Indiana. It'll slowly end overnight. Any additional accumulations will be light. It's a cold wind, though, with temperatures in the teens. Winds will gust to 20 miles per hour. Okay, the snow's not over. It's just diminishing in coverage, and I think any accumulation is certainly less than an inch, and in most cases, less than a half an inch. Temperatures, they're steady. They'll stay generally where they're at in the upper teens. As we go through the overnight, the blues of the light snow drop to the south and eventually move out. Temperatures tomorrow with a few snow showers in the lower 20s. The focus will quickly shift beyond the weekend and to a potential, I say potential storm system because it doesn't really exist yet except for in computer models, potential storm system for early next week.
A group that supports Hoosier veterans says they could feel the impacts of a bill that would mean a major change of plans for Indigo. Senate Bill 141 would enforce an existing law that requires Indigo to fund a portion of its operating budget without relying on tax money. 25% of Indigo's operating budget would also have to come from fares. WRTV's Cameron Riddle is working for you with new details on cuts Indigo says they could be forced to make if this bill becomes law.
In Indianapolis, public transportation provided by Indigo is a critical resource for hundreds of veterans across central Indiana.
Transportation is one of the most significant barriers for the veterans we serve. It is vital in providing them the means to seek and maintain meaningful employment.
Brian Copes is a U.S. Army and Indiana National Guard veteran, as well as the president and CEO of Helping Veterans and Families of Indiana. HVAF is the largest provider of services to homeless veterans in the state. They help veterans with a number of things, including food, housing, jobs, legal services, and transportation.
Prior to Indigo implementing their Veterans Ride Free program, my agency spent about $70,000 a year in bus passes to provide ridership to veterans in need.
Indigo's Veterans Ride Free program has been around since 2018, but Indigo says if Senate Bill 141 is passed into law, it would require the transit agency to raise and account for more money, which could force Indigo to discontinue the free ride program and start charging veterans to ride the bus. Indigo spokesperson Leslie Gordon says in the month of November 2020 alone, Indigo provided veterans with 31,000 free trips, something she says Indigo would no longer be able to afford under Senate Bill 141.
That program is about $1 million in fares that we, give back. So if our funding is jeopardized, programs like this are at jeopardy. We have to count everything, and that makes every program, every discount, every fare at risk.
In a January interview, the state senator behind the bill, Aaron Freeman, said the proposed restraint on Indigo is his legislative avenue to prevent bus rapid transit, the Blue Line, from being built and taking away a lane of traffic on East Washington Street.
I'm here to tell you, I do represent the area when you talk about the Blue Line, and folks do not support the Blue Line in terms of one lane each direction.
In a statement tonight to WRTV, Freeman says Indigo's claims that his legislation would lead to budget cuts, including eliminating free rides for veterans, is disingenuous and a retaliation for his proposed bill. Politics aside, Copes over at HVAF says cutting rides for veterans does not help the people he's working to serve.
It will have a significant negative impact on those veterans who are seeking employment in the city.
Cameron Riddle, WRTV.
You can read Senator Freeman's full statement on our website at WRTV.com. Senate Bill 141 is waiting for a second reading after being reassigned to the Senate Appropriations Committee last month.
People gathered at the State House today to fight for the rights of working pregnant women.
They had me climbing ladders at 38 weeks pregnant, stocking freight in the heaviest aisle.
April Lapoza is among those urging lawmakers to better protect Hoosier moms and babies. Lapoza says that during both of her pregnancies, her company refused to give her basic accommodations. A bill filed last year would have required employers to provide reasonable accommodations to pregnant women, things like more breaks and help with physical labor.
They had supervisors that would stand there and watch to make sure you went to the bathroom while you were on lunch, and if you were a minute late, that counted against you for your attendance. So it was a lot.
And so if we don't have a state where women can both carry a child safely and healthily and have a job, it's going to hurt our economy incredibly, and it's going to hurt our future.
Tasha Coppinger with the nonpartisan organization Hoosier Action says that's just one way the issue impacts everyone. We told you last night at 11 a House committee advanced a weakened version of legislation. House Bill 1309 would allow women to request accommodations from their employers, something they can already do without the law.
Tomorrow, Indianapolis Mayor Joe Hogsett and the director of the Marion County Public Health Department will give an update on COVID cases and vaccine doses in the county. They are scheduled to speak at 3 p.m. You can find updates on the news at 5 and the WRTV app. And state leaders discussed those issues this afternoon at their weekly briefing on the pandemic. They say positivity rates, hospitalizations, and other factors continue to trend in the right direction. When it comes to the vaccine, health officials are planning the next eligibility phases for when more doses become available. People as young as 60 are next in line, then those as young as 50 and Hoosiers with certain health issues regardless of age.
In the other group that will become eligible, we are targeting an estimated 51,000 Hoosiers with specific conditions that put them at increased risk of severe illness. These Hoosiers have 4 to 10 times increased risk of death if they were to be infected with COVID-19 based on our own state and international data. Our group will include people receiving dialysis, people with sickle cell disease, people who have received a solid organ transplant, individuals with Down syndrome, people who are actively receiving cancer treatment now or within the last 3 months, and people with active primary lung cancer or an active hematologic cancer, such as lymphoma, leukemia, and multiple myeloma.
Dr. Lindsay Weaver, Indiana's chief medical officer, says the department will work with doctors and others to reach out to Hoosiers who qualify for the vaccine under these terms. And right now in Indiana, anyone age 65 and older, long-term care residents, first responders, and healthcare workers are eligible for the COVID-19 vaccine. You can make an appointment by going to ourshot.in.gov or by calling 211.
Of course, teachers who fall into those categories can now get the vaccine, but many hope their profession would be the next eligible group as they face pressure to educate students in person. WRTV's Cornelius Hawker talked to a teacher about the stress of not having this important protection.
Another Wednesday press conference from Governor Holcomb, another letdown for teachers.
It has been very disappointing and very frustrating over the last the last month and a half, to hear Governor Holcomb, continue to say that teachers will not be prioritized.
Like hundreds of educators across central Indiana, Ben Yoder is back teaching in the classroom and says getting vaccinated would make teaching in person less stressful.
Having that vaccine is going to provide peace of mind for what many would deem an essential worker.
Indiana is the only state in our area that hasn't prioritized vaccines for teachers, instead focusing on healthcare workers, frontline workers, and then going by age.
You're never going to see any of us jumping in front of grandma or grandpa to get a vaccine. That's not what we're asking, and that's not what we're trying to do.
Data is coming out that says schools are low risk for spreading the virus. However, researchers caution parents may not be reporting cases or getting their kids tested if they suspect or know of a known exposure, opting to just keep them home instead.
There's some truth to that these numbers that we're getting are not necessarily always reliable in terms of being correct. So, and that is a concern. Teachers are concerned about that too.
If you could say anything to Governor Holcomb and Dr. Box right now, what would it be?
Well, I think, first of all, I thank them for all their hard work. This is obviously an unprecedented event, and nobody was ever taught how to handle it. And so I commend them for that. But I would also say, I think, if we really do want kids back in school, if we really do want to try to get things back to the way that they were before, and we want to call teachers essential workers, then they have to be treated like essential workers, and that means they have to be vaccinated.
Working for you, Cornelius Hawker, WRTV.
The continued push among educators to become eligible for the vaccine comes amid the news that a beloved Center Grove teacher died from COVID complications.
The things that I really learned from him in high school really have shaped me into the person that I am today.
Next to my parents, he was probably one of the most influential people in my life.
You always knew, like, he was going to have your back.
District leaders say Russ Milligan died this morning. He was 56 years old. A chemistry teacher and Hall of Fame softball coach, Milligan was a staple of the community for more than 3 decades. Mallory Jones say his influence still looms large over her life more than 15 years later.
For people who think that it might be crazy that I'm sure, that I'm grieving this much over the loss of a coach that I haven't played for since 2004, and I'm sure other people that you talk to, like, if they don't understand why we're grieving so much, like, they never had a coach like Coach Milligan.
Milligan taught at Center Grove for 31 years and spent 27 years as the school's softball coach. He was inducted into the Indiana High School Softball Hall of Fame in 2010. The school will provide counselors this week for students and staff. And if you have lost a loved one to COVID-19 and would like to share their story, email us at facesofcovid@wrtv.com.
The evidence that has been presented thus far is pretty damning.
Coming up, lawmakers react to new chilling evidence presented in day 2 of the impeachment trial against former President Trump.
Valerie's live life comfortably.
From the station working for you, this is WRTV News at 11, streaming now.
The impeachment trial of now former President Trump continues tomorrow. ABC's Faith Boubé today reports today House prosecutors showed scenes from the terrifying attack on the Capitol.
Never before seen video playing in the Senate chamber on day 2 of former President Donald Trump's second impeachment trial.
And so they came, draped in Trump's flag, and used our flag, the American flag, to batter and to bludgeon.
The chilling and terrifying footage showing lawmakers just feet away from Capitol rioters on January 6th.
You were just 58 steps away from where the mob was amassing.
That mob intent on finding the House Speaker.
Nancy! Where are you, Nancy?
And Vice President Mike Pence. Capitol police officers seen running to the rescue, rushing lawmakers to safety. In another scene, the insurrectionists banging on an office door. On the other side, congressional staffers huddled in fear, whispering for help.
They're pounding on doors trying to find her. Yeah.
The impeachment managers methodically laying out their case in chronological order, arguing that Trump's betrayal of his oath of office began long before the deadly insurrection.
He fanned the flame of violence, and it worked.
And when the violence began, the House impeachment manager saying Trump did not stop it.
Instead, he served as the inciter-in-chief.
The impeachment managers appealing directly to the senators. Witnesses of the attack now seated as jurors. Some Republican senators calling the Democrats' presentation compelling.
Just a very powerful video.
I'm angry, I'm disturbed, I'm sad.
Trump's defense team ready to make their case once Democrats wrap up their opening arguments tomorrow.
We can't possibly be suggesting that we punish people for political speech in this country.
And while some Republicans appear moved by today's presentation, Democrats were still a long way from getting 17 GOP senators to vote to convict Trump. Faith Boubé, ABC News, Capitol Hill.
There are 2 constants in my forecast you'll discover. The cold temperatures going nowhere will actually expand and get colder, as you'll see, and there'll be several opportunities for snow. The snow showers and flurries that we expect for the rest of the night while you sleep are not supposed to amount to much, half an inch in most locations, certainly under an inch. Cold temperatures will push south, even more south, as we get to the second half of the weekend and early next week, and that's going to push our temperatures a little below zero, it looks like, on Monday morning, and then also have wind chills 20 below. On Valentine's Day, we'll be lucky to hit double digits. We'll probably settle at about 11 for the high temperature. Well, as I mentioned, the focus will shift to a potential storm early next week. I've jumped to Saturday morning, and we're showing you what's coming onshore in the Pacific Northwest. Over the weekend, that will move to the southeast. By the time we get to Monday morning, that sits along the Gulf Coast. This is a favorable direction to bring moisture, and we're on the cold side of the storm system, which increases the chance for snow. The exact track of this will eventually determine the axis of heaviest snow, but stay tuned. 19 in Logansport and in Marion for the high tomorrow. Nothing really new here. Temperatures staying about where they've been over the last several days, and compared to 38-degree average high, obviously way below average. It's cold, strong northeast wind, 15 miles per hour. Friday, a little bit of sunshine, 21 at noon, 24 for the afternoon high temperature. As we go to the weekend, chance of snow is 20 to 30% over the northern half of the state on Saturday. Sunday, much colder, 11 degrees with a little sunshine mixed in there. Wind chills likely to stay below zero for the entire day. And as I mentioned, we'll watch the system then on Monday. There are your wind chill temperatures that improve a little bit through the day on Sunday. Monday, as we go through the day and into Monday night, storm system starts to impact southern Indiana first, then into central Indiana. By the time we get to the morning hours and early afternoon on Tuesday, we'll be on the back side of that storm system. Again, a change in the storm track would push the heavier snow south and east or northwest. We'll see how that plays out. Temperatures in the single digits on numerous occasions, and high temperatures are coldest on Valentine's Day itself, 11 degrees, and the storm system early next week with temperatures certainly cold enough for all snow. Mark?
Just have to stay inside. All right, thanks, Kevin. A woman who has built a career creating fictional TV shows is now taking on very real problems. Scripps reporter Elizabeth Rui shares good news for anyone who's tired of old stereotypes.
I couldn't find anything. I could not find one source that just focused on the positive things that Black people did online.
Lori Lakin Hutcherson is a television producer and screenwriter. She's also the creator of a website dedicated specifically to telling positive stories about Black people in the U.S. and around the world.
We want to amplify those stories and those people and those events that haven't necessarily gotten a lot of attention that really need to be brought to light.
Good Black News includes original stories from freelance writers and reporters, but also shares positive news stories about people of color from other reputable sites.
People who contribute to it are all volunteers. Nobody gets paid. I mean, it's just been something that we all do in our spare time.
Hi, I'm Dina Crowder, and I am a contributor to Good Black News.
Dina Crowder has a journalism degree from the University of Southern California. She says she started contributing to Good Black News because she wants to change an old narrative, one she says many of us buy into without even realizing it.
To grow up hearing that some kind of person is very bad, it's harmful to the psyche. It creates an entire way of approaching and dealing with that person. It dehumanizes.
Both Dina and Lori believe historically, Black people have been portrayed unfairly in the mainstream media.
It would show pictures of African Americans in particular looking sullen or angry or, just not in a very positive light.
So if you grow up in a place where you're not around Black people, you don't see them, you don't know what they're like, then you're going to absorb what you see in media.
Donnie Aldean teaches media and global cultural identity at Colorado State University. She says the first step in better representing people of color is through education.
Blackness isn't a monolith, right? It's not, everyone doesn't think the same.
She emphasizes there's so much diversity within the Black community and believes we all need to make a purposeful effort to reach out to people who think differently.
If your world has looked like this and you're trying to get perspective in this area, it's going to take a lot of work to do so, but it can be done. And it takes a lot of personal growth and empathy, but we can get there.
Lori says another solution to the problem of misrepresentation, hiring more people of color as journalists. Dina believes there's a simpler answer, one that involves self-reflection.
We have to look at what are the stories that we are telling about Black people, not just out there in the media, but what are the stories inside of ourselves that we are telling on an unconscious level.
I'm Elizabeth Ruiz reporting.
.com.
Tonight in sports, hoops highlights. The Pacers take on the star-studded Nets, and the IU men earn a hard-fought win. WRTV's Brad Brown starts with the Hoosiers.
IU's game at Northwestern played out in three very distinct acts on Wednesday. Act 1, the Hoosiers had another slow start, scoreless for the first 4.5 minutes. They fell behind by 14 and had just 20 points at halftime. Act 2, another IU comeback, down by 7 with 2 minutes to go, but Al Durham saves the day, gets the look in the closing seconds. Shot in the lane goes down. That would send the game to overtime. Act 3, the extra periods, which were a little bit of everything before them. Indiana was down 6 with a minute to go. Got the final possession of the OT. Armand Franklin double-teamed, manages to get the ball to Durham, who hits another one with 1 second to go. He scored a career-high 24 points.
2 went with him. I knew he was going to throw it back to me, but I seen the man coming at me real fast. I tried to pump fake and step back, but I missed the line, so it is what it is. But I knew the shot was good, if that counts for anything.
On to a second overtime. IU finally able to get an advantage. The big shot this time would come from Jerome Hunter. Three-pointer with 15 seconds left helped put the game away. Indiana gets what felt like a much-needed win, getting their Big Ten record back even at 6-6.
Putting them into both overtimes, you could kind of see the confidence in our guys continue to grow, that we were going to figure something out here and find a way to do it. And like I told them after the game, of all the games this season for this team, this one right here puts a smile on my face more than any of them, just because of what we had to go through to figure out how to do it.
I felt like this win was very important to us because we haven't been able to put two together. We haven't been able to string two along, so I felt like this win, we needed it.
Indiana plays at 4th-ranked Ohio State on Saturday. A dismal first half proved to be too much for the Pacers on Wednesday. The Nets putting the game away early. Just a 9-point lead after the first quarter, but the Pacers could not get anything going in the second. Brooklyn managed a 35-12 advantage. Worst quarter by scoring margin for the Pacers all season. It was 62-30 at halftime, also the season's lowest scoring first half for the Pacers. Kyrie Irving finished with 35 points for the Nets. He had all 17 of his free throws. A little light for the Pacers after the break, but not enough to climb back in it. A more respectable final score, but 104-94 when it was all done. They've lost 6 of their last 7. Pacers play at Detroit on Thursday night. Brad Brown, WRTV Sports.
Plasma.com. An out-of-this-world sale is underway. Christie's Auction House is holding an online auction featuring 72 meteorites, including one that holds stardust estimated to be 7 billion years old. Another item is a large rock from Mars with bubbles of the planet's atmosphere trapped inside. Hey, Valentine's gift, guys.
Yeah, it sounds unaffordable, but I think if you break it into 3 easy payments, it'll probably work. 23, the high tomorrow with a few flurries around. Those not as rare as meteorites these days, snow flurries.
I'm in. We could do it. All right. Thanks, everybody, for joining us here for WRTV News at 11. Make sure you wake up early and catch the GMI crew at 4:30 tomorrow morning. Have a good evening.